The next area of articulation, which is the tongue, al-lisan. There are 10 articulation points in the tongue for 18 letters. And these articulation points are distributed into 4 areas. That is, we use 4 areas of the tongue to pronounce 18 letters. And that is why we have, firstly, aqsal halq, we have wasatul halq, we have hafatul lisan. I mentioned halq. Aqsal lisan, the deepest part of the tongue. Wasatul lisan, the middle of the tongue. Hafatul lisan, the edge or the side of the tongue. And taraful lisan, the tip of the tongue. The tip of the tongue. Aqsal lisan, just as that there are 10 articulation points in the tongue for 18 letters. For aqsal lisan, there are 2 letters coming from the deepest part of the tongue. Aqsal lisan, there are 2 letters, and that is al-qaf wal-kaf. Al-qaf is being pronounced from the deepest part of the tongue ma'a ma yuhadhihi min al-hanaki al-a'la. مع ما يحاذيه من الحنك الأعلى من المنطقة الرخاوة. It is being pronounced from the deepest part of the tongue and what lies opposite to it of the roof of the mouth, which is the soft palate, and that is where al-qaf is being pronounced from. We can see that al-qaf is very close to the throat. It is close to the throat, while al-kaf is being pronounced also from the deepest part of the tongue and what lies opposite to it of the roof of the mouth, but slightly below the point of articulating al-qaf. Al-kaf is under the point of the place of pronouncing al-qaf. Secondly, from the middle of the tongue, wasatul lisan, ma'a ma yuhadhihi min al-hanak al-a'la, and with what lies opposite to it and the roof of the mouth, we have 3 letters coming out from there, and that is al-jim, al-shin, wal-ya. These letters are referred to as hurufu al-shajariyya. Hurufu al-shajariyya. They are being pronounced from the middle part of the tongue because they are articulated from the center or middle of the tongue. You can see G, sheen. You can see sheen, ya. So these letters are being pronounced from the middle of the tongue. The next point in the tongue is hafatul lisan, the side of the tongue or the edge of the tongue, and we have al-dad wal-lam. Al-dad wal-lam coming out from here. Al-dad is being pronounced from ihda or hafatay lisan. It is being pronounced from one or both sides of the tongue and what lies opposite to it of the upper left molars or right molars. Al-dad is one of the most difficult letter in Arabic language, and it is even one of the letters that distinguishes Arabic language from other languages, and that is even why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is used to be eulogized by saying awwal man nataqa bil-dad, the first person to pronounce letter Al-Bod. It is kind of difficult to pronounce. It is being pronounced from the edges or the edge, one or both of the two edges of the tongue, resting against the upper premolars or molars from the point of articulating, sorry, to form the articulating point of body. That's where we have body, a body. Then as for lam, it is also being pronounced from the edges of the tip of the tongue, resting against the palatal. Then the point of articulating lam is also formed. Some people used to make this mistake and believing that a lam is being pronounced from through the tip of the tongue. No, it is articulated from the front edges of the tongue, from the front edges. It is not from the tip of the tongue, whereas a bod is pronounced from the posterior edges of the tongue. So if you are saying no, it is not the tip, it is a lam, lam, a lam, a lam, a lam. Okay, it is not being pronounced from the tip of the tongue. Then the last area of the tongue that we need to discuss is taraful lisan, which is the tip of the tongue. Taraful lisan. From the tip of the tongue, we have 5 other articulation points for 11 letters. We have 5 other points of articulation points for 11 letters. We have nun, ra, ta, da, ta, sod, zai, sin, dha, dha, dal, and tha. These 11 letters are coming from the tip of the tongue. They are coming from the tip of the tongue. The point of articulating nun is formed by the tip of the tongue and what lies opposite to it of the gums of the 2 top front incisors. This is slightly beneath the articulation point for lam. It is below the articulation point of lam. That is where nun is formed. Ar-ra, this is also one of the letters that is difficult to pronounce. This is one of the letters that is difficult to pronounce because it is being pronounced from طرف اللسان مع ظهره بالقرب من مخرج النون. It is pronounced from the tip of the tongue with the top of the tip. It is also close to the articulation point of nun. While nun, the point of articulating nun is below the place of pronouncing lam. It is below the place of pronouncing lam. Ra is also below the place, or no, sorry, it is not below, it is close to the place of pronouncing unknown. Ar-ra, 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 ra. So ra and nun, we can therefore say that because of the closeness in between them, that they share the same articulation point. Okay, with the exception that ra uses the top of the tip of the tongue with the tip. It uses the top of the tip of the tongue with the tip, whereas nun uses only the tip when we want to pronounce them. The next 3 letters that are regarded as al-hurufu an-nat'iyya, hurufu an-nat'iyya, that is at-ta, wad-dal, wat-ta. at-ta, wa-dal, wa-ta. They are also pronounced from the top part of the tip of the tongue and the gum line of the two top incisors. That is where at-ta, it is also a heavy letter that the mouth must be encircled when you want to pronounce it, when it has fatha or dhamma. At-ta, ta, was-sama'i wa-tariqa. That is at-ta. And the corresponding letter to ta is also dal. While ta is made or pronounced heavily, dal is pronounced lightly. Dal, at-ta, dal. And then at-ta, ta is also pronounced from the tip of the tongue and the top part of the top part of the tip of the tongue. The next three letters, as-sod, was-zai, and sin, are also pronounced from the tip of the tongue and between the plates of the two top incisors. There must be a little gap or space in between the tongue and the two top or central incisors when one wants to pronounce the three letters. The tongue, the tip of the tongue, nor the two top incisors or the two central incisors must not be touching each other for the point of articulating the three letters to be formed. As-sod. There is no way you'll be able to pronounce it if they are touching or closely touching each other. Az-zai. There must be a little bit furjatun qalila, a very little bit space in between them. Az-zai. As-sin. If it is close, then the letter will not be produced. These letters are also called al-hurufu al-asaliyah due to them emerging from the tip of the tongue. Al-hurufu al-asaliyah. Then the next three letters, al-dha'u wa-dhalu wa-tha. Al-dha'u wa-dhalu wa-tha. Just as we mentioned when we are talking of at-ta wa dal, that they are corresponding each other. Al-dha wa dal is also corresponding each other in the sense that while al-dha is pronounced heavily, al-dal is pronounced lightly. It is pronounced lightly. The tip of the tongue, together, the tip of the tongue and resting against the tip of the upper central incisors and taking the precaution of sticking out the tongue slightly between the teeth, and that is where the point of articulating al-dha'u wal-dhal and al-tha is formed. It is pronounced from the tip of the tongue resting against the tip of the upper central incisors. And these letters as well are called hurufu al-lathawiyya. If we note, when we are pronouncing al-dha, wal-dhal, and al-tha, it looks as if one wants to spit in between the two top incisors. For some people, they say they have gap teeth in between the two top incisors. Then one will be able to pronounce them conveniently. Al-dha, al-dhal, and al-tha. They are called huruf al-lathawiyya because they are said to be close to the gum. They are said to be close to the gum. Inshallah, the next area of the tongue that we'll be talking about is taraful lisan. I said طرف اللسان. الشفتان. الشفتان, that is the two lips. The two lips. And in the two lips, shafatan, we have two articulation points. We have two articulation points for four letters, and the letters are alfa, al-waw, al-ba, and al-mim. Al-alfa is being pronounced from batni shafa, the inside of the lip, the inside of the lower lip, ashafati as-sufla, inside of the lower lip, wa atrafi al-thanaya al-ulya, and the tips of the two front incisors, and the tip of the two front incisors, and that is where al-fa, fa is coming out from. Then al-waw, al-waw is also being pronounced from min bayni shafa, min bayni shafataini ma'an, min bayni shafataini ma'an بانضمامهما. It is formed from the two lips forming a circle without the two lips meeting completely, or without the mouth joining together completely, and that is where wa is coming out. There is going to be a very little space in between the circle of the mouth when pronouncing al-wa. Then al-ba, this is by closing, it is also coming from the two lips, by completely or closing the two lips together. That is where al-ba, ba. There is no way you pronounce ba without the two lips coming together. And the same thing also applies to al-mim. It is also being pronounced from the two lips coming together completely, except that mim is just more stronger when when you have to join the two lips together. It is more stronger than that of mim. These three letters are regarded as hurufu ash-shafawiyya. They are regarded as al-hurufu ash-shafawiyya because they are being pronounced from the lips, from the mouth. Sorry, they are being pronounced from the mouth, including al-fa. The four letters, they are being pronounced from the mouth. Al-fa, al-wa, al-ba, and al-mim are called hurufu ash-shafawiyya. And the last area we'll be talking about, the fifth area of articulation of letters, is al-khayshum, the nasal cavity or the nasal passage. That is, there is only one letter, and it is not even regarded as a letter per se. It is a sound coming out from the nasal cavity, and the sound is regarded as al-ghunna. It is regarded as al-ghunna. Ghunna is not actually a letter, and we apply ghunna to two major letters, an-nun and mim, having shadda, and that is where we apply ghunna, except in other instances where nun sakina or tanween comes before some special letters, and that is where we'll be applying ghunna to them. But majorly nun and mim that has shadda, ghunna must be applied to them. Ghunna must be applied to them, and it is a sound coming out from the nose without having anything to do with the throat or with the throat. It is just with the throat. And if you want to know whether you are observing your ghunna very well, that is nasalization, whether you are observing it, you can just close your two lips For instance, you want to say you can see that it has nothing to do with the throat, but it has something to do um, with the lip, in the sense that you want to pronounce a letter coming or being pronounced from the lips. There is no way you can pronounce meme without joining your two lips together, and it is on the meme that you want to apply the gunna. Okay, so you want to say and you close your mouth, you will find it difficult to pronounce, and that is where you'll be able to know that yes, you are bringing a sound coming from the passage of the nose. So if you are doing ghunna, you think you are doing ghunna, and you are able to cover your nose comfortably, and you are able to pronounce or read a particular letter conveniently, then it means you are not doing ghunna. For instance, I say alhabdu, alha. You can say that me saying alha, there is no ghunna, there is no sound coming from my nose. But for you can see a sound is trying to force out itself from my nose. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us better understanding, and inshallah we meet in our next class. Assalamu alaikum.